Ladies and gentlemen, today is Wednesday, June 12th, 2013, and this is the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the Village of Vernon Hills. Due to the absence of Chairman Morris, we need to appoint an acting chairperson for tonight's meeting. So I need a motion to appoint an acting chairperson.
I'd like to make a motion to have Commissioner Heidner act as chairman this evening.
I'll second that.
Any comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Okay, the first...
we need a roll call now. Sorry.
Is the roll call?
Commissioner Ballou, Commissioner Cotton.
Here.
Commissioner Hesner.
Here.
Commissioner Heidner.
Here.
Commissioner Mulcrone.
Here.
Commissioner Gordon, or Gorog, Commissioner Morris. We have a quorum.
Have a new commission.
I know.
Okay, the first topic is a public hearing. We hear case number 13-04, which is a petition filed by J.Q. Freeman, MPV Properties of Charlotte, North Carolina, representing Bradford Real Estate Companies, requesting to amend the special use permit for the Shops of Greg's Landing PUD to allow for the placement of an auto repair service. Also to approve certain variations, including but not limited to setbacks, buffers, and parking and loading requirements. The preliminary and final approval of the site and landscape plans, and the preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations and signage for those plans. Who is here on behalf of the petitioner to speak? And if you could have everyone who's going to speak come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you promise that everything you say tonight in testimony is truthful and free from material omissions?
I do.
Okay. And if you, when you come up to speak, if you could identify yourself with your name and title. You're on.
Good evening. I'm J.Q. Freeman with MPV Properties. Thank you for having us this evening. We do development work for TripleA, and about 12 years ago, TripleA saw a void in the market where they continued to do the travel and insurance business, but a lot of their motor club services they felt needed to evolve, and were typically historically, there was more repair service to cars. They saw it changing to more maintenance and diagnostics. Cars were spending more time on the road, and they saw where there were lower end and there were dealerships, and there was no place to service the folks that had cars just coming off warranty but a higher end car. And as a service to their members and the general public, they got into the light automotive repair business. Which again is primarily maintenance and diagnostics. They put it under one roof with their travel and insurance businesses and call it Car Care Plus. We have identified a site in Vernon Hills, and that's why we're here today.
Could I make one comment? The one rule we do have is that you use the portable mic if you step away from the microphone at this podium.
Is it on? Hello. Joe Vavrina with HR Green is our civil engineer. I'm going to let Joe speak specifically to the site and our request.
Thank you and good evening. As JQ mentioned, my name is Joe Vavrina, HR Green, project manager, civil engineer on the project. Real quick, just to orientate you where the site is located. It's in the Greg's Landing subdivision. Lot 5, which is just north of the multi-tenant building that was constructed quite a few years ago, just north of the access point off of Milwaukee. This would be the last outlot along the Milwaukee frontage to be developed. And you flip to the site plan. Just to kind of walk you through traffic circulation. Really, this is just an extension of what was designed and developed as part of the multi-tenant building quite a few years ago. when the multi-tenant building was developed, it was always thought of and designed for this lot to be developed in tandem with it, meaning that the access drive that separates the two buildings was always intended to be a shared access drive, meaning that half of the drive is on Lot 4, half the drive is on Lot 5. So essentially, we've extended our development right off of that shared access drive, continued the parking along Milwaukee that lines up with the parking that was installed for Lot 4, maintaining the location in the back of curbs to be even, so everything is essentially congruent across that frontage, and then parking along the north side of the lot. Traffic circulation-wise, customers and employees will enter in off of the shared ring road, filter into the site, and the way that TripleA is set up, especially from the light automotive repair standpoint, is when a customer comes in, they will park their vehicle in the front and or the side here. They'll walk into the facility, they'll make their appointment, and then they'll wait in the facility. That's the last time that they'll see their car until it's finished. An employee or a team member will come out, pick up the car, bring it into whichever service bay it's going to be serviced in. When the vehicle is complete, then the team member will bring it back out, park it back in the front parking lot, and the customer will then pick it up at that point. So customers will not be allowed to pull their own vehicles into the service bays. That'll be done by team members only. So essentially this area here on the north side will be reserved for really team members. There'll be no need for customers to go beyond roughly this point here, because this will be either employee parking for here and or the use for team members to bring vehicles into the building. So the majority of the circulation for customers will be on this side and then up into here, and then they'll circulate out. From a stacking standpoint, there's ample room here in this location to pull a vehicle out if they needed to stage it here temporarily before they pull it back into the parking lot, so this drive aisle is not obstructed and obscured from having vehicles still continue to travel through here. Loading and unloading, the thought was, and as it's in the packet, we're asking for a variation for an actual striped loading space, but the thought would be is that the loading and unloading would occur on the north, again, because it's outside of the flow of traffic. There is no customer traffic over here. If it were to be on this side, you have traffic for the multi-tenant, customer traffic, and employee traffic. This is very isolated on this north side of the building. So this would be a prime candidate for that. The size of the vehicles that unload or that deliver here are very small cube type vehicles. So there's no semis or anything like that. It's the smaller type van trucks, if you will. Deliveries are usually once, maybe twice a week at best. They could happen at any, primarily probably in the morning, but they could be any time of the day. But again, having this area controlled for just really team member access lends itself to have the deliveries on this side. To complement that, we've enhanced the landscaping on this side to somewhat buffer that view from Milwaukee with a variety of deciduous shrubs as well as deciduous trees to kind of, again, block that view of, anything that would be occurring in this location. Again, a delivery vehicle is only there for probably a half hour to deliver and then they're gone. So it's not like it happens every day for long periods of time. It's a quick event. From a trash delivery standpoint, trash enclosure is located in the back. Typical trash pickup would be early morning hours. When the store first opens in the morning, again, there's not going to be a lot of traffic here when the garbage truck comes to pick up trash and then leave. Utilities, again, this lot was already platted many years ago, so utilities are already extended to this lot, be it water, sewer, stormwater basins right here was sized to handle the stormwater runoff from this lot. So from a utility standpoint, everything is pretty well set up for this development of this lot. What else we got? From a site standpoint, that's a pretty good overview. Probably let JQ just kind of walk through the elevations and the sign package real quick.
Sure. This would be the front door of the building, which on a floor plan and site-oriented would be here. And as Joe mentioned, customers will enter here. They'll go to a greeting station here, who will then direct customers to either a service writer for auto repair, travel and insurance agents in this direction, and then they'll go to a waiting room in this area. This is the rear elevation, which is made to mimic, designed to mimic the front of the building. Obviously, we've replaced the glass with EFS panels. And the sides of the building, again, we've wrapped glass around the front, and we've made an effort to have the automotive doors and the elevations match these glass panels with the awnings, as well as added the stone water table to match the rest of the shopping center. The parapet is full height and raises above the rooftop HVAC units to fully screen those. And the wall sconces are to match those elsewhere in the center. I think that's about it.
Landscaping.
Landscaping, as I mentioned, we have a plethora of trees and deciduous shrubs and perennial grasses that we have located on the north boundary as well as along the Milwaukee frontage. Islands, again, have deciduous trees, shrubs, and perennial grasses as well. Around the trash enclosure, went with some evergreens for the year-round screen to screen that from the rest of the center to the rear, and located some trees as well. Enhanced the landscaping in the back, worked a lot with staff to come up with a nice landscape plan for the rear of this building, so that as you're driving down the shared access drive, it's not just a brick wall that you're looking at. It breaks it up with the trees and shrubbery that we proposed in the back over there.
And then can you look at the garbage enclosure? You have the elevation on that.
The garbage enclosure is again intended to match the architectural design of the rest of the building and the rest of the shopping center, with brick, stone water table, and fully screened doors.
What are the doors made of?
They are painted steel gates.
Now, what kind of waste will be held within this enclosure?
This would be primarily just a dumpster that would have paper, office supplies, that sort of trash.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, there may be a set of tires that is stored there temporarily until it's picked up. TripleA does very little tire business. There's not much money in it. It's just a commodity. And we don't store many tires on site, just a few sets. If a customer or a member needs them, they can be delivered within a few hours. But the oil storage is in the rear of the building here in a self-contained room. And it has a exterior door, which is a 2x2 metal door about head high, with piping coming to it for loading of oil and for pumping out of used oil. So it's all contained in this room. A small truck pulls up, opens the door, puts a hose in, sucks the oil out or pumps it in.
Where will that truck park?
Well, there's the site plan. They would park here, but alternatively, we could flip that oil storage to the north side of the building, so the truck could park on this side. Based on the feedback that we've received, I suspect that's desirable, and we would move it.
The one thing too I wanted to add is that in the event, it's not AAA's policy to store vehicles overnight. They like to have them, they bring them in, they get them done the same day, and they move them out. If for some reason that a vehicle had to stay overnight, it would stay inside the facility. It would not be parked outside.
That's true.
How big of a truck is that oil truck that comes into?
It's a small truck.
20 feet, 30 feet, 25 feet,
20 to 25 feet.
25 feet? And how long do you think a trash truck is in this community?
I'm not sure of the size of a trash truck.
30 feet?
40 feet, 35.
How's that truck going to turn around back there?
Couple different options. They can do, again, being that especially a garbage standpoint, when it's going to be in off hours, when there's not going to be anybody, in the center, they could do the 3-point turn, again, depending on what size truck they use. The thought was there's enough room here to do a 3-point turn where you pull in, you back in, back and around, and then you can pull out. If they couldn't do that, and again, being that it is in off hours and it's when the centers are closed, they would have to back out and then pull in.
So have you looked at that at all?
As far as,
The length of the trucks?
yes,
How they can back in? Can they pull off a 3-point turn there?
again, it depends on the size truck they use. If it's a smaller garbage truck, they can. If it's a larger one, then they would have to back out.
Most of them are pretty similar in size around here. I
It
mean,
depends if you get the front or rear loads.
And both of them? No, you said one of them.
Right,
Make a
the rear load's the smaller one, so that one, you can make the 3-point turn. And sometimes the garbage provider, depending on the space, they may use the smaller one because they know it's tight and they have to use a smaller truck to get in. If it's the front load, which is a longer wheelbase, that one would have to back out.
And you said that the oil type trucks that come to this type of facility, they're smaller, they're not semi-oriented. So have you can't tell me what size those are, what length those are?
I don't know specifically what size they are. It would be based on the vendor and depending on which vendor and which size trucks they use for this facility. Again, as Joe mentioned, they would likely have different sizes and would use the size that's appropriate for
For the facility
for the
that it's
facility.
serving? So you've obviously worked on several of these before,
Yes,
and you have had an oriented drive aisle like this
yes.
before? Have you had one that's narrower than that?
Narrower than that. We've had them that size.
Narrower this way, or?
Yes.
So he's talking about this distance here.
Yes, we've had them that size where they can come in and back out, or pull a 3-point turn.
What time of day do they service?
Typically in the morning, they would come before customers.
So between 6 and 7, because you open at 7.
Again, it's dependent on the vendor. They can come in off hours. There are no employees that have to be there. They have a key to that 2x2 door, so they can come, let themselves in, and load or unload oil.
Okay, so when you say before hours, it's before 7.
7 or 7:30.
'Cause you start it says in here that you start from 7 and you continue to 7 in the evening.
That's correct, 7 to 7. And they would come, again, dependent on the vendor, but most likely before hours.
John, do we have other doors of this similar construction that they're proposing here in the village on that dumpster I'm talking about? And how have they held up?
Well, we've encouraged the use of metal doors because they actually hold up better than the wood doors that we've seen go in. They don't twist, and as long as the gauge of the metal is heavy enough, they're much more preferred than the wood doors that we've seen.
And do we have any code as far as the maintenance of them?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have property maintenance codes and certain building code requirements. Yeah, I mean, they have to close, they have to look like something, so there's both appearance, and we also deal with, you know, making sure that they're fully operational. This structure, for instance, would comply with the zoning ordinance provisions because it reflects the proposed building materials of the building, and it provides a set of doors. Again, this is actually a slight step up than what we typically see with the metal doors. So,
Okay. How many employees will you have at this facility?
About 18.
And at one time, how many?
This is the only
We would have
access point.
at max,
Yeah, 'cause I'm-
Oh,
17 or 18.
17.
Will the garage doors be left open when cars are being serviced? I mean, will there be noise traveling out of your facility to the adjacent properties?
The garage doors would be left open at times, and there's some noise. We've never had any significant complaints about noise issues. There are air wrenches inside, which is the only tool that does cause some noise that would travel out. The doors are up and down throughout the day.
The tenants at the parcel to the south actually generate a lot of traffic, and parking is very tight there, and sometimes there aren't any available spaces. Will those patrons of those businesses be allowed to share parking with the parking lot for AAA?
I'm going to let Jay with Bradford speak to the parking in the center.
Good evening. I'm Jay Eck with Bradford Real Estate. Back in 2007 or 8, when we developed the Lowe's project, the first phase of this development, we recorded a ECCR agreement, easements, covenants, and conditions that provided for and required that all the property owners within the subdivision allow for cross parking. So it was established many, many years ago, and that's how the shopping center's been operating for the last 4 or 5 years. So it will be available. Thank you.
Could you let us know just again, because I might have missed it, what kind of servicing goes on in these bays?
It's primarily diagnostics, oil changes. There's no heavy service. They don't crack transmissions. They do not pull any engines. It's typically classified as light repair, no heavy repair. So there will be oil changes, fluid changes. These days, a lot of it's plugging your car into a computer and testing diagnostics. As I mentioned, we will change tires, although it's rare.
So if there's something wrong with the vehicle electronically, they'll be able to fix it here, or will they send it someplace else?
No, they could fix it here. If it were a heavy body issue, again, we don't do heavy work, so they would refer it to someone else before they came to the site. A tow truck wouldn't bring a clunker here that had been rolled in a crash.
So they would do some body work here?
No body work.
body work.
No body work.
So can you give an example of the type of diagnostic you would use and then have to refer that customer somewhere else?
That would be transmission work. If you needed to have your transmission serviced or repaired, they'd have to send that elsewhere. If you needed to have the engine opened up, we don't crack any engines, they'd have to refer that to someone else.
But you'll do a complete tune-up and that sort of thing?
Yes.
Could you please walk us through the exterior colors and materials?
Sure. This is the stone water table on the bottom. This is the primary brick throughout. This is this brick detail with the wall sconces. Blue canvas awnings. The main body, drive it, is a suede color for this area. And then ephes or drive it cornice work is here in this lighter color.
And those, in those intermediate pilaster,
Yes, those intermediates here are also the lighter color.
Are these the exact same materials that are on the other parcels of, or are they just are complementary colors?
They're complementary colors meant to match. They're intended to be as close a match as possible.
What color are you proposing for all the metal pieces, like the storefront system and the cornice?
Well, this was a darker bronze, and we've received comments that it was requested for this storefront to match the other storefront in the center, which we will do.
It's the clear anodized aluminum is the
Yes.
predominant theme there. One more thing with the metal cornice, I believe it was meant to match the whatever the top ephes of the cornice was.
That's
It wasn't like a metal color on the
This?
the
Oh, the
top
top.
of the top of the cornice.
No, it's this top ephes.
Right.
Yes. I was going to speak to signage. Signage is on the front and rear of the building. So, with the single AAA Orbit and then Car Care Plus on the front. And just a AAA Orbit on the rear. And this size is sized to the sign ordinance.
Is somebody using the service at this facility required AAA membership?
No, they do not.
but they'll likely leave with one.
Hopefully.
I would also note that the signage has been reviewed and it's consistent with the size and the number of signs that are applied to the existing buildings out there, one on the front, one on the back. That's consistent with the application that we've seen with the other buildings.
This week I happen to have experience with AAA services, and I was first sent a unit that was like a mobile diagnostic unit, and he had his nice little truck, and then he couldn't help me out, so then they sent a tow truck, which I also saw that I wasn't a subcontractor. It had the AAA signature on it. Do you have those vehicles and will they be at this facility and stored there?
No, they will not be stored at this facility. They're separate tow facilities, which are typically in industrial zoned areas. Occasionally, a tow truck could come to this facility to bring a car in, but there are no tow trucks stored on site.
And you probably said this already, but are you doing this nationwide, or is this something you're just trying out, or?
No, it's by region. AAA has, over the years, there's been a lot of merging. But they are independent AAA clubs operating under the AAA brand. This particular concept was started by AAA Carolinas. AAA Mid-Atlantic has also started the concept. AAA Northern California, Nevada, and Utah as well. This club is AAA, the Auto Club Group, based in Dearborn, Michigan, which also operates in Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. They have 4 stores open in Atlanta right now, and this would be the first store to open in the Chicagoland area.
As the request is to amend the special use to allow automobile uses or service uses in this development. John, can you give us any background on discussion regarding that special use amendment to date? Anything that has been controversial, anything that was in support?
The petitioner has appeared before the committee of the whole and presented their information with regards to the and the site plan regarding this, and what you see is some of the product of that discussion that took place before the committee. The committee was generally favorable and directed them to begin technical review and then appear before the commission tonight. With regards to comments received, I know a member of the Greg's Landing North HOA is here tonight to provide or ask questions or provide comments. So I won't steal his thunder, so to speak. The other comment is I actually did have a conversation with one of the business owners in the multi-tenant building who expressed some concerns about the parking in general on that multi-tenant lot and how this might either impact or assist that parking issue. And I've had a couple conversations with the petitioner's engineer and the like with regards to that, and that was part of what you see in the design of the plan, and also JX comments with regards to the cross parking agreement. And honestly, I remember we did it, but you'll note that I didn't in my reports. Oh, I apologize. Those were the comments that we received. We worked a lot internally at a staff level, also with the fire department on access for the site. One of the questions was, could you get a dual access using A, the primary entrance point, and B, creating a secondary access point where you see the waste enclosure. We looked at a couple of different options and plans, including a right out only, a full access. And because it's located on the curve of the internal access road, the village engineer felt that that would not be an appropriate location for any kind of access. In addition to that location, it was also felt that, because of the success of Mariano's, thank you, Jay, that secondary access point would not work, again, because of the sheer volume of traffic that goes along that access road to access the Mariano's. So that's why you would see that. I guess I can answer any other questions if you'd like.
No, that was good. The one thing that I see as a compelling or reoccurring question in my mind is the return of vehicles and service vehicles around to the north side. I think as this is a potential for shared parking for adjacent businesses, there would need to be appropriate signage that would say that this is a dead end or there is no outlet circulating around that building, because people on their lunch hour or people visiting from other communities won't know that is something that they can't do. And so that would be pretty important, because people will park out in front of this facility to grab a sandwich or some lunch, and because it gets pretty full. It really gets full over there.
Where are the employees for, let's say, Lot 4 and this lot encouraged to park currently?
I'd be happy to speak to Lot 4. I think they can address Lot 5. But the parking for employees primarily should be behind the building. That's where we've encouraged them to park. So you can see this row right back here. And leave all this prime parking in the front and on the side for pure customer access and parking.
And same thing for Lot 5 or the AAA. most of the employees would park on this side as well over here. Again, because there's no outlet, it's away from everything. That would be the more preferred location, so that this would be open for prime use for customers.
It would almost seem that this area right there in particular would be for parking for staff, because that area right there.
No.
Or down there, this area,
We can't see down there.
right there, would be for staff. And here, because you're gonna need a place to pull vehicles out and at least maybe queue them up or something. Or if you need something, if somebody comes out here to turn around, there won't be any place to turn around. So I'm a little bit concerned about parking in this area.
Well, I guess from a maneuverability standpoint, there's enough room to pull a vehicle in and out of these. It's a 24-foot wide drive aisle, so they shouldn't need the stalls to maneuver in and out of the facility.
What if
And
they're all full and somebody ignored or did not see the sign and they kept on coming around to that portion of the building? How would they turn around?
well, at that point here, again, because we got a 24-foot wide aisle, again, they can do it, back and around and pull around in this area over here to do a 3-point turn to get out.
Do you need all the parking back there? Do you need all the parking that you provided on this site?
To meet code, yes. And again, the thought would be, as far as stacking and staging vehicles, because the team members pull the vehicles in, they'll stage them up here, they'll pick them out of the parking lot, then they'll bring them in, and then they'll bring them back to the front parking lot for the customer to pick up. So there won't be any encouragement for customers to bring their vehicles in and stage them here to bring in, because that will be encouraged up here in front.
I'm just concerned about between the hours of 11:30 and 1:30 in this area. I mean, it's busy.
Yeah.
It really is busy. You need to go over there between those hours, because people are going to be parking all across the front there. They really are going to. People are going to park across here, and so the whole your concept's a thing of beauty. How you can have people park there and then they can transition into, and people who work in the facility can do what they need to do. But these folks right here, they're grabbing a sandwich, or some lunch, and how are you going to handle that? How are you going to deal with that? I mean, it's a busy place. When we say busy, it's a busy place.
Yeah, I've been there, and you're right. It is busy.
Heck,
Absolutely.
just with Starbucks, it's busy. But with the sandwich shops, everything else, I mean, it's a great thing about success.
Let me just, I think that's one of the reasons why we're pretty enamored with this use, because we think it's complementary to a fair amount of restaurants that are next door, and you don't see similar conflicts. As I understand it, most of the customers that come to AAA, other than if you're coming in to buy insurance or renew your card or whatever people do at AAA offices, but you'll come in and park your car, but it'll primarily be inside in a service bay. So they're not a high use, high parking use or a high burden with parking. So it's a very nice complementary use. As we're just talking here, maybe one of the things that might make some sense, and I'm just brainstorming, is maybe west. I'm sorry. Maybe there's some signage that says employee parking in this general area, so you can get your employees in here. They'll know when deliveries are made, so when they can and can't park there, or if there's a conflict with a truck that's coming in. So there's just some signage so that if a customer's coming in here, whether it's yours or someone else's, they'll see something like that, and if they can't park, then they'll back up and come out and around. Just a suggestion, if that might.
My questions are strictly to get you really thinking about that. It's something that you can't avoid. I mean, it's an unavoidable great thing about that part of the center.
Right.
So, as you will, sign it, control it, understand it, and work with it.
Thank you.
I have one more comment with the employee parking. I know the code is, it's one space per 2 employees, and you anticipated 16 employees, but it's a suburban building, and more than likely you're going to have 16 employee cars if you're, full capacity, unless they're actually carpooling. I think you'll, as Commissioner Hesner said, you'll just have to think about, if that's the case, where you're going to park 16 employees and still have room for your customers.
But as you said, you have this cross parking agreement, so they could actually park across,
Right.
in
Mariano's lots?
the Lowe's
Good
lots.
luck on that.
The
Lowe's.
Lowe's lots.
Oh, that's quite a ways from here, isn't it?
No, it's kind of right across.
Again, it's for employees, so I think if it became an issue, you'd utilize the advantages of the cross parking.
Okay, any further questions? All right, this is a public hearing, so if anyone from the public would care to come forward and identify themselves, they can comment or ask questions.
Yes, I'm Robert Sloat, and I'm here on behalf, I live in Vernon Hills, 1576 North Hague Point Lane,
Hey, Bob, spell your last name.
S-L-O-A-T.
Good.
In the Point, and I'm here representing myself, my community, my local, the Point, and more importantly, the Homeowners Association, Greg's Landing North Homeowners Association. The property is in Greg's Landing North, I guess you'd say the development. We had a public board meeting in, I think it was end of March, early April. Some of the public commented to us on this. We've had some board discussion, and the basic board sent me here to express its views that we're very concerned about the fact that we have auto bays on the north side of this building that you can see, even though there's a pond in between, you can see them from Greg's Landing coming in. The two undeveloped pieces of property might shield it, or would probably shield from the when you get farther west. But right now, I don't know how wide that pond is, but you could see bays. That's our basic concern. The nature of the business, it's a secondary concern. But we have a few questions. How long is it, if this is a go? We have a truck pumping oil. That's not like picking up garbage. I don't know how long that takes. It'd be sitting. And I don't know, insurance, this is not a place where you would be doing estimates. There's no body and fender or estimate work being done. Okay, just selling, okay, sales of insurance. But our concern is the type of business, but even more importantly, and it's part of the business, is we'll have, how many bays are on the north end? 5. 5 bays, which would be on the north end. All the pickup and deliveries on the north end, and that's clearly visible from Greg's Parkway across the pond. That's my personal view also. And again, Greg's Landing North Homeowners Association Board feeling. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Bob.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public section of the meeting. And were there any final questions from the committee? Nope. Okay. Then I guess we have a standing motion to approve. Would somebody hear the motion? I guess you want to. I'll read it through and then you can add to some of the things that we're going to add. Okay, the motion is to approve to amend pursuant to ordinance 2007-25, the existing special use permit for the shops of Greg's Landing PUD to allow for the placement of an automobile repair service establishment and related office use to be constructed along with its related improvements on Lot 5 of the shops of Greg's Landing subdivision. Approval of the special use permit allowing the following variations: elimination of the required loading space, and then also the preliminary and final approval of the site and landscape plans, and preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations and signage plans. And as conditions of this approval, the development must meet compliance with the following plans: the Car Care Plus Center Plan prepared by H.R. Green, dated 5/10/13, which is 5 pages long and includes the landscape plan. Color rendering plans prepared by AI Design Group with a date of May 8th, which is 3 pages. Dumpster enclosure prepared by A1 Design Group. I guess it's a 1, not an AI. Is that an A1? AI? AI Design Group, dated April 4th, 2013. And the schematic 8, which is floor plan prepared by AI Design Group with a date of April 4th. Also as conditions, it has final approval has to be made by the village engineer and the landscape architect. All signage shall comply with the village sign ordinance. No outdoor display of any automotive related supplies shall be permitted outside the building. No outdoor storage of used vehicle related supplies such as batteries, tires, or similar materials. All deliveries of automotive supplies must occur on the north side of the building in compliance with other village ordinances and standards. And we're adding as well that we'd like the oil storage dispensing unit located to the north side of the building, so it's emptied on the north side, and that there be no storage of towed vehicles on the property. And John, I think you had a couple more.
Yes. The 9th condition would be consistent with the material sample board dated, and Joe, I need a date off of that material sample board.
March 4th?
So March 4th, 2013. In addition to the towed vehicles, no storage of tow trucks on the property. Adding a no through turn sign or no outlet sign to the site in front of the building. And then the final condition would be use of clear anodized metal doors and window frames. Those would be substituted for what's proposed on the plan. Those are the extra conditions I have.
Is that the entire facility, or is that just the front?
That would be the entire facility, because you want to be consistent all the way around.
Okay, and I do also want to notice before we proceed on the motion that the petitioners also submitted section 18.3, which is required for a special use permit.
Right.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Any additional comments? The only comment I have is when I initially heard of a car care facility, I thought that it doesn't quite fit into the character of this development. But seeing how good a job you've done on the design of this facility, I think it does fit in.
I actually agree. I thought, especially for a car care facility, that the materials and everything really fit within the shops of Greg's Landing.
You mentioned no cars stored on the property. If
Mhm.
a car needed to stay overnight and be stored inside the building, is that acceptable?
I would think so.
Yeah, just in exterior areas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So and that's a good point. Let me clarify that. No storage of cars or tow trucks on the property outside the building. So they could park a tow truck inside the building if need be. Okay. With that, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
just had one more clarification. If the other commissioners are in agreement with the color of the cornice to match the what's happening at Lot 4 as well. I think it matches the stucco rather than a dissimilar metal color.
And does that agree with the board that we just approved?
No, it's a dark bronze on the boards.
So the,
And it'd be a dark bronze?
No, I was saying that it would match the color of the stucco. What's currently out at Lot 4 and Staples and Mariano's and Lowe's is it's whatever the top portion of the building of the cornice color is, they had a matching metal coping.
Okay,
Got that?
I think so. On the motion, Mr. Baloo, Ms. Cotton,
Yes.
Mr. Hesner,
yes,
Mr. Heidner,
Yes.
Mr. Mulcrone,
Yes.
Mr. Gorog, Chairman Morris. That motion passes 4-0 to recommend. We're going to try to take this to the village board at the committee of the whole next week. We're going to try. So I'll shoot you guys an email, let you know.
Thank you. Okay, you
Leave
don't
'em. You can leave them.
you don't have anything under development review,
I do not.
discussion?
We are going to have a plan commission meeting sometime in mid to late July right now. First student is back for the possible rezoning of the bus company property on Butterfield Road. So that is out there. We're reviewing it right now, and then there's several other items that are
Didn't we already
pending.
do that?
No, you had an informational presentation on that. So, and then Rust-Oleum will be back before you all for several items of interest.
Annual visit?
Yeah, it is it'll be 3 years in a row, I think. So, and then Chick-fil-A, as Joe knows very well, will be under construction in a couple of weeks, starting with demolition and hopefully to be completed by middle of October. Westfield is in for building permit review. As we speak, the economic incentive agreement has been completed and approved by the village board, and we're waiting for final signatures on that agreement. AMC is confirmed, Dave & Buster's is confirmed, so those are two really good uses that are going to go in there. And so we'll see construction start on the mall, probably on the north side with underground utility relocation starting in the next 30 days, and then building work will start rather rapidly after that, with the theater targeting to be open in early to late November, or early to mid-November of 2014. 2014, right. It's about a 14-month process. So, so those are the two big projects. And then the Oaks, the village board did approve that ordinance at the last meeting, and we are working on the final REA, which is a real estate agreement, and also working with them to try to placate some of the concerns expressed by ZF Industries on the noise and setback.
Can they take down the sign that still says it's office development there?
That'll come down relatively soon. So they're closing on the property at the end of the month. And then construction, I believe, will start rather rapidly after that. And with units being under construction sometime in early to mid-fall. And it'll be about a 24-month construction process from beginning to end on that one. So, and that's what I know right now.
Okay. The final items are approval of minutes. We have minutes from the May 1st and the May 15th, and if there's no problem with combining the approvals.
I just can't vote on one of them.
Oh, okay, we'll keep them separate then. All right.
Well, actually, you can, even though you weren't here. That's what
You
the
can vote
that's what the village attorney has said. You can vote, yes. Yes, you can. 'Cause we've had this discussion at the village board on multiple occasions, so so it's up to you.
Okay, I will do them separate. From the May 1st meeting, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. You want to abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the May 15th meeting.
Motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Great. Thank you.
Abstain.
Are you abstaining? Okay. Okay. Like I said, you'll see an email from me at some point, or from Lisa at some point, with regards to the July. It'll be late in July at this point because of where we are in the month of June already. So, and don't forget the 4th of July parade and fireworks. So, and then summer celebration after that. And the French market is open on Saturdays from 8 to 1. Come on out. And it's not a farmer's market per se.
What is
a
a French market?
The difference between a French market and a farmer's market is the farmer's market is primarily is food. And you may have some flowers and those types of things. So it's primarily grown stuff. The French market has additional things like jewelry, or some people bring, or will sell, scarves or those types of things that'll be prepared foods. And so it's more of a market per se than just strictly food or flowers or those types of things. So it's a mix of both edible and non-edible things, for lack of a better term. So
Where is that located?
I'm sorry, it's at the metro station parking lot, 8 to 1 on Saturdays through October. So.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Don't know.